Take te hau ki te uru, take te hau ki te tonga. Kia mākina kina ki uta, kia mātaratara ki tai, e hi ake ana te atakura, e teo, e huka, e hauhu, tihei, mauri ora. Welcome along everybody to the final meeting term of the Waipapa Papanui-Innes Community Board. First up on the agenda today is apologies, and we have not received any. Declarations of interest, I haven't been told of any of them. Item 3, confirmation of previous minutes. Pauline's moved. Mike seconded and put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
That is carried.
So it's correct that we bring any issues up in the members' exchange.
Yes.
Right? Yep.
Yeah.
So if you could remind me somebody.
Item 4 is public forum, and we have today Lee Figgett here.
Yep.
The Anglican Diocese of Christchurch Parish of Mirabel, St Albans.
Hi.
Welcome, Lee. Thanks for coming along.
Everybody, thank you very much for having me. I just wanted to come along and introduce myself. I work in conjunction with the corner at Mirabel, and I work at the corner at St Albans. We run a community outreach program there, and with sitting in with All Souls Church. And I just really wanted to come along. I've been working there for a year now, and I run a couple of community groups to look after, get people in who are vulnerable and on their own. And I wanted to come and let you know who I am, put the face to the name, and say thank you very much for the funding that we've just received, because it's going to help me stretch my boundaries and try and get some more people involved. And really, that's all I came to say, because I've never been to one of these before. So,
Ellie, you've got a question.
Yeah, I've got a question. We do an awful lot with young people, and there's a, you know, and
Yes.
fair enough too. But I would imagine you are dealing with primarily older people.
Yeah, the older demographics that are on their own.
Right, that's what I was going to ask.
Yes,
So-
they tend to be. It's more for the lonely and vulnerable.
Right.
Really, that's what we provide. So I do a coffee and conversation every Wednesday, and just get people to come along. We provide the coffee and some food, and they occasionally pay for a donation we request to help us fund it a wee bit. And we just sit around a table and chat.
Is it mainly women?
No, we do have men as well. Majority
of
women.
Yeah.
And we have had some men that will turn up and won't come because there's women, and we've had the vice versa on the other side as well.
Right.
If there's been a man there, somebody said to me, I thought it was only women.
Right.
But no, we actually...
I'm just thinking of the demographics with widows and widows.
Yeah.
It's generally the women.
yeah, we just welcome everybody, and I just want to try and get it out there a wee bit more.
Are you
so
connected with a men's shed that gives something for the guys?
No,
Well, that might be
no,
something
it could be an
else to do.
idea actually. Yeah,
Because
could be
the guys obviously deal with loneliness as much as women. So-
Yes, they do. Yeah,
Okay.
but we do provide. I try and promote it as much as possible. But with the funding, I'll get more hours, which means I can promote it more.
Brilliant.
So,
Great.
which is what I'm wanting to do.
Thank you.
Yeah. So.
What sort of numbers do you get along?
It started with about 4, and the most I've had is 12, which is quite huge. We tend to run between about 7 and 8, 10. So it just depends on the day. With winter, if it's wet or people don't want to come out, but I try and connect with people who don't come after a while, and try and get them to come back in again, or I phone them, or I've gone around to somebody's house to try and find a manhole because they had moved house and couldn't find one. So I like to do things like that. Well, they sit there in the group and they tell you about it, and older people tend to repeat it quite a lot. So I thought, right, I'll just go and see if I can help her, because I knew where she'd moved to. So I said, I'll just come in and see if I could find it. So we found it straight away. So that was good.
It'd be really great if we got your meeting dates, or I don't know whether you use Facebook and promote. stuff
Yes, we
like
do.
that.
Yeah. And it's on the St Albans
Great.
Facebook page.
Well,
So
could we
they promote us
link
as well.
up to with the board's Facebook page too, please?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, it'd be really good, because anything that we can do to promote it more would be really good. Yeah, they're very good at the community centre promoting us as well. So much appreciated.
Sorry, I'll just ask one more and come to Simon. Are there any gaps in provision for older people in the area that you've noticed?
I think there's always gaps, but there is lots of groups. When we work at Mirabel, we have a lot of presentations, and I noticed a lot of groups do the same sort of thing, but it directs at particular demographics. So I'm sure there's always a requirement out there. So, but how to connect to it, I'm not quite sure at this stage. I only do 3 hours a week there, so I have to use my little extra hours that I have to try and promote as much as possible. And so that's what my plan is. Yeah.
Great. Simon?
Oh, yeah, a couple of quick things. Just confirming what sites or venues you're operating.
So I work at St Albans, which is why I'm here, at the community centre. And I work, I have a 3-hour window on a Wednesday from 11 till 1. And then I do once a month, I do every second Saturday night. I have a 4 o'clock one for the people who are wanting to get out on a Saturday night. And quite often there we get 10 to 12 and more men at that one as well. But they don't only come from St Albans, I've had them further afield. And then Miraval, they run them all, they are open 3 days a week, 4 days a week. And they have a lot of groups there and we do coffee and conversation there. So if I'm not at one, I'm at the other and helping out. So, and they do a Saturday night group there at the end of the month. So we cover the bases twice. And it really started when St Mary's and St Matthew's were demolished with the earthquakes and they merged. And a lot of St Matthew's people found that there was nothing on the Papanui, other side of Papanui. So they wanted to bring this in and that's where it all started. So we're just trying to develop it more from there. And it's only been running a year, so it's still quite early days, but we are.
And I guess a similar question to Emma's, you mentioned that board funding can help stretch your boundaries. I guess the question was, if you would stretch your boundaries further, what else would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to do more promotion. I started doing mail drops and things like that, but then I ran out of hours. So now I'm going to be starting back into them. And just communicating, like going into the shops and just anything I can find in the area that can promote it a bit more and get more people in would be really good. Yeah, and if there's more things, opportunities that open up from that, then albeit that's what we're wanting, because there's so many people out there. I had a lady recently who came and she lost her husband a couple of years ago and she's just been sitting at home. She said, I just didn't know where to go, didn't know what to do. And she turned up and it was really good. So yeah, it's nice to have that come along. That's what we want. So yeah.
Do you use the St Albans News?
Yes, we do. Yes, yes.
You have the free notices?
Yes, I haven't got them in the free notices. I did do a couple of articles in there, so I am going to get onto that as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. That's what the hours will help. See, when you're only given 3 hours to work at one place, and I only had another 2 hours, I didn't have any time to promote.
Yeah.
So I'd go back and do my admin for my 3 hours, and that was it. So yeah.
No, it's a really wonderful program, and as Ellie says, sometimes it's not a lot for the elderly, and our funding, a lot of it goes to youth.
Yeah, they do, don't they? And the elderly really need it.
And there's more and more of them.
Yes, well, I volunteer at Nurse Maud and in the hospital area, and it's been quite an eye opener. You know, just because I'm like can see where it happens and how they just talk. They just feel like I'm doing it now, but they just talk and talk and talk because they just want the company. They just really need the company.
Living on your own, people often don't talk for a few days.
No, they don't. No, when my mother comes around, my husband goes, she just talks. I went, she's on her own. Yeah. She just likes to get it out. Yeah.
You are on video at the moment, just letting you know.
Sorry, Mum.
Yeah. Just one really quick one. Have you thought about getting in touch with the local paper? Because a lot of them read the demographic as reading the community papers. And I'm just wondering if you got in touch with the local reporter.
Yes, that's a good idea.
They may put a little piece in and that may help you profile as well.
Thank you very much.
Look at your new hours filling up.
I know they are. I've only got 8, but I will do the most with them for sure. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll do that. We do send it out in the Chronicle and the Messenger from the church as well.
Right,
so, great. Yeah, just advertise. So thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you for coming along and introducing yourself.
No, thank you. All right. See you later.
Thank you. That takes us to item 5, deputation by appointment. And we have on Zoom Anne Scott from Spokes Canterbury, who is going to speak to item 11, Northcote Road. So welcome, Anne.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen. Apologies if this doesn't work. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Anne Scott tōku ingoa. I'm presenting on behalf of Spokes o Waitaha, And I have to just say apologies for my voice, and I hope that it lasts the session, but I'm home with COVID at this point in time, so it comes and it goes. And I might be coughing as well. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. It's one of the community outcomes in developing resilience in the 21st century strategy framework is a well-connected and accessible city promoting active and public transport. And as part of this, we need to address the wider issues for cycling, or we risk continuing to retrofit infrastructure in compromising ways. In terms of the in terms of the proposal this morning, Spokes is in agreement with the proposed changes in Lydia Street, and we particularly talk about the 30K zones and the fact that this is actually one of the safest ways of reducing the conflict between traffic and with pedestrians and cyclists. However, we are concerned about the right-hand turn off Northcote Road, particularly as this is going to be used, according to one of the submissions, from foodstuffs by semi-trailer trucks servicing the supermarket. And if you look at this area here on Northcote Road, you can see that this, if you have a large truck trying to turn right and another large truck trying to pass it on the inside, then this actually is quite dangerous for the cyclists. And particularly when they're cycling down this part of the Northcote Road on the north, which is actually already very narrow. We would also, in terms of this, like to see a cycle sequence on the lights across Northcote Road, because it's not clear whether it's legal to cycle across there or not without those cycle lights. When you look at this is the cycle map, the council cycle map, and you can see that there are two main cycleways here. There's the Northern Line to the to the west, and there's the QE2 shared path to the east. And within this shared path, in this yellow bit, there is this missing 700 to 750 metre space along Northcote Road. There are, as you can see, 5, soon to be 6 schools in this area: Casebrook Intermediate, St. Bede's, Papanui High School, Papanui Primary, St. Joseph's, and soon Marian College. And this is an opportunity to create a solution that will benefit all of the schools and other cyclists by creating a 2-way separate cycleway on the south side of Northcote Road from the main North Road to Vagues Road to complete this gap. And it would be actually a good idea to put in a counter also to see what the current use of this part is. I did a very unscientific survey of this particular area, and there were actually quite a lot of cyclists, particularly coming from St. Bede's College during the 2:45 to 3:15 time when schools were coming out. It was very obvious. I do cycle this area quite a reasonable amount of time, and it's very obvious that within this missing link, there is a complete lack of female cyclists. You very rarely see them, and that's a very good indicator of perceived risk, particularly as there's a much more balanced number within the Northern Line. If you have a look at this traffic, you can see this was a couple of photos that I took along Northcote Road, and you can see that there is a lot of traffic on this road, and that the traffic includes a number of trucks. And you can see that if you have a look at the first one to Main North Road from Lydia Street, that truck is roughly where the crossing is going to be. And if you have a look on the other side, the Lydia to Northern Line, or around Vagues Road, you can see that the traffic's just banked up everywhere. And when I was looking at who was using this, there were a number of people who were actually biking down the footpath rather than using the road. And I unfortunately didn't take any photos of the other side of the road. That is even tighter. if you have a look at this, this is the shared path. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure this is the shared path that's being constructed through the foodstuff site to Lydia Street. And this may well be an opportunity to actually take, this may be another opportunity to move cyclists through this particular area and join up with the 2 cycleways. If you come back here, looking at the larger picture longer term, if the council were to look at this now and make the decision about where the 700 gap, how the 700-metre gap could be closed, then the decision might be to do it through Lydia Street, or it might be to do in Northcote Road. But it would be very useful to have this information before some of these decisions are made, so that we're actually looking at the longer pitch, at the larger picture, and to see that how this might pay off in the longer term. So thank you very much for allowing me to present today, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Anne. Any questions? No. Right, we will be coming to that item a bit later on. Staff for that one aren't available until 10:30, so if you wanted to stay on Zoom, or maybe Mark could let you know when we'll be doing that item, if you wanted to hop back on and watch or listen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the time today.
Bye.
Thank you.
Item 6, presentation of petitions. There are none. Moving us on to item 7, correspondence and forum notes. We have the correspondence there. It's an extra attachment, isn't it? From George Britton. Then we have the forum notes from our visit to Te Oroho last week. Pauline.
Yeah, there's a comment really just to, who did the notes? Was it you, Mark?
Yeah.
I just want to say all fantastic notes for the forum, really complete, and thanks for sending the link for the web piece that Simon and I both missed. It was an excellent forum, it was really lovely, and you know, and the pictures are beautiful, well done. So yeah, thank you for that, a lot of work there, so very impressive.
Emma, can I just add to that? I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I had something come up at the last minute, but they were really helpful to me because I wasn't there, so thank you.
It was great to get out there and visit them. Mike?
Thanks. Yeah, actually it was probably one of our best I guess public forums, and I think part of that is because we actually went to the community, and I know we did the Zoom ones which were quite good, but actually go into their place added a lot of value, and to see what they're doing in Te Oroho is actually quite impressive.
The amount of effort they put into the presentation to give to us was very impressive as well. I mean, they went to a lot of trouble to gather everybody together, which was awesome.
So we need a mover and a seconder to receive those. Mike, move, Pauline, seconded. Put that motion, all those in favour? Aye. That is carried. Item 8, McFarlane Park Neighbourhood Centre ground lease. Mr. Locke Barry here. Welcome, Barry.
Morning.
So we'll probably take the report as read, and if anybody's got any questions for Barry. Alex.
Yeah, sorry, I've got a few on this actually. Just why was this not done at the same time as the building?
As the building?
Well, when the building was
gifted?
Yeah.
Oh, principally because we wanted to keep the two separate, and we could have done the 2 ground leases together, but the gifting had a lot more detail in it, so we decided to keep the 2 reports separate.
This is not for
different buildings.
Different buildings.
Oh, different.
Sorry,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the old Plunkett rooms at the front.
Oh, yeah.
Cafe.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
How's the lease value determined?
It's a sports lease, so it's done under policy. There's a formula for it.
Right.
So yeah, every sports unit or community building has the same policy formula. Okay. So there's an element for the area of the ground lease itself and an area for where the building is. It's fairly nominal.
All right, thank you. I also wondered too, as far as the reserve designation, does that mean that, for example, when we're looking at the Shirley site, the reserve land there, I mean, it's clear that the reserve designation has been able to be changed to accommodate the needs of those buildings and what the community has wanted. So that wouldn't impede any other sort of reserve site that we've got where we may be considering putting a building when there isn't one there at the moment, for example. There's still the same flexibility to.
You just have to go through the process.
Yeah,
the statutory
right, okay,
process. Yeah.
all right.
Yep. Which is a bit convoluted, but
Yeah, sure. But the other one is the Westminster site that we've been looking at. That's also, I think, reserved land. Is that right? That's the issue with buildings that all the community use in that. Am I right on that?
Oh, look, I don't know. That's been a.
What I'm trying to
There's been a lot of
understand is that
information
you know the two buildings that have basically been left in disrepair.
The demolished one.
I've gone.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
The prefabs, not the.
Oh,
Yeah.
the
So
others.
one of the issues there is that was reserved land, if I'm correct.
Well, probably
So-
part of the park, but they probably had a temporary, granted a temporary.
But that's what I'm
I'm not
asking.
familiar- not familiar with
Yeah,
that,
and
sorry.
all I want to do is just float this to see if there is a consistency and flexibility in the policy that means it can be, there's nothing exceptional about this that
No, if we can change the reserve status to
Yeah.
suit
that
uses.
need, right,
Yeah.
okay, that's
Subject
fine.
to public notice and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
great. No, thank you. You've answered my
Yeah.
questions. Yeah, thanks.
I think we did it with Sheldon Park as well. didn't we?
Yeah, great, thank you.
I'm happy with that.
I will second it. Any debate? No, put that motion, all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Karen.
Have a good
Nice to
day.
see you.
Item 9, Langdon's area, no stopping restrictions. Welcome, Wayne.
Through the chair, members, councillors. Okay, so just a tidy up of the Langdons area, basically, just following other consultation feedback from other projects that were undertaken in the area. So unless there's any questions, I'll take it as read. However, we were in consultation for the Hawani sales area, and we've had no submissions received back for that.
So 3.2, removing the on-street parking, although attachment A, it says there does show the parking demand. There is high demand around the Hawani sales intersection during the standard weekday, mainly generated by Papanui High School vehicles. Investigations have shown there are available parking spaces within the vicinity. What does within the vicinity mean as far as an area goes?
Basically, 400 metres is classed as a reasonable distance. So I have had a look. So the Hereward end of Sales, Chapel, Hawani Street itself, Hereward Road, there are spaces.
That's good. You've answered my question. I just wasn't sure what within the vicinity meant. 5.1, it says at the time the report was written, consultation is currently in progress with affected residents, and that will be presented.
Yes,
here.
yes.
So how can officers make a recommendation without the results of the consultation?
We just told it.
Sorry?
Hasn't been any results.
No, we've had no submissions received back from that consultation.
And how many houses would have got that?
The houses at each corner, the rest home and the Wolfbrook residential development that was just recently completed.
Right, so when there is no, and I see this in, I think the bus one we've got coming up as well, there were pretty limited responses. Is there ever a proactive attempt to contact people? We know from some of the cycle consultation we've done where there hasn't been a lot of response. There's actually been a proactive attempt.
Yes, I do door knocking for my
Oh, can you do some for me?
So you actually go physically to them?
Yes, and still give them the form
Right.
for the response back.
And did you get any feedback from that actual door knocking? And
No.
No.
There were two residents weren't there. Two residents were there. They were either way not phased.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
They're actually happy because they'll be able to get out their driveway a bit more safer. So
Awesome. Thank you.
I'll just question the conversations with Papanui High. You've had
previously in the past, yes, but it hasn't. They're neither here nor there, so they're not. Yeah, like past conversations have been non-productive as far as the parking in the area goes.
So are we inquiring with them in regards to what they're doing as a school to change the method of transport that the children are getting to school?
I'm not too sure on that. Sorry, I'd have to check with our school travel planners that at work. So I'm not too sure on that one. So it's quite a tricky situation. Most of the students, for instance, St Andrews is heavily parked out as well. I mean, most of them have restricted licenses, one person per vehicle. So yeah, they are tricky situations when it comes to high schools.
But are we putting some pressure on the schools to try and change their, like to try to improve the situation?
It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's our job.
We have tried as a board through our principals forums that we have, and there needs to be, I think, a nationwide program to address that. But first of all, we need to make sure that the cycleways are safe and engineered appropriately.
I've got a question. The
Yes.
parking removal on Chapel Street.
Yes.
Once that parking is gone on the, what's that, the northwest side?
The P120 the parking. Yes.
That will make enough space for effectively two lanes.
Two lanes. Yes.
Is there a need to mark that out?
We will monitor that. I did have that marked on the plan to start with, but I did remove it. The lanes were very tight and I didn't want to cause any issues with the cyclist aspect, waiting and getting squeezed out of those lanes. So we will monitor it, and it's a quick fix that doesn't need approval if it comes to time to mark a 10-metre white line to separate the lanes. But like I say, I'm just a bit hesitant at this stage, just due to the cyclists maybe getting squeezed out, because we're only going to be left with really minimum lanes, like 2.5s, I think they were going to be, which is, I'm just a wee bit nervous and hesitant on marking that width of lane.
Okay.
But there will be enough for the vehicles to take it upon themselves to separate it. Yeah.
Any more questions? I'm happy to move this one. Mike will second it. In debate.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, just briefly, thank you, Wayne. As a board, this is an area that has been on our plan this term. It's good to see another incremental change to help with safety in that area. We're well aware of the issues around traffic and safety. And we would all see how busy, particularly jammed up that Chapel Langdon's intersection gets at many times a day. When there are vehicles in that existing P120, it makes it particularly difficult for left turners to get through who might be able to move more easily, but they're stopped by the right turners that can't move. Appreciate the picking up on the community feedback from the previous consultation, and happy to support it. Thank you.
Mike?
Thanks, Joe. I happily support these safety improvements. We obviously know the impact that's happened with all the development in this area, and the fact that we was given this feedback from the Wheels to Wings cycleway was actually very fortunate, because it allowed us to actually do a lot of improvements in this area to make it safer for everyone. So support this.
I just agree with what Mike and Simon have said. It's a really tricky area with parking demand and how busy it is. I was down there the other day, and on that Sales Street Hawaiian intersection, on 3 out of the 4 corners there were cars actually parked right up to the corner.
It's not very good.
So this is going to make a real difference there. And also that Chapel Street corner, that's a shocker at the moment. When I was down there, the traffic was backed up because they could only go single file. It was backed up past the Mitre 10 entrance, and that was in the middle of a weekday. So this is going to make a real difference. Thank you for support. So put that motion. All those in favour? It's carried. Thanks, Wayne. Appreciate your work in that area.
We've come a wee way actually this term, so it's been all right.
Yeah, good one.
Fighting little battles.
Item 10, public transport infrastructure improvements along Route 17. I've got Sarah.
That's okay. Yes.
Sarah?
Oh, yes.
Yep, and
Hi.
Sam. Welcome.
Thank you. Got myself tangled. There we go. Thank you for having me along today. I'm the passenger transport engineer, and so I look at upgrading the bus stops around the whole of Christchurch. So this report came about because we were doing a route review of all the bus stops going from Littleton all the way out to the airport. And so I've brought to you 5 bus stops that are along that route. I'll just go through the background of this project for you. So in December 2020, Council endorsed the Greater Christchurch Public Transport Combined Business Future Case. And so that study looked at really uplifting public transport to get more people on buses, to reduce the admissions, and to make it a more attractive facility. So they laid out a plan for ECAN to do route reviews and for council to upgrade infrastructure concentrated on the routes that they thought was going to give the best value and uplift for customers. So the first route review that's come about through this study was done by ECAN, and it concentrated on Route 17 and Route 28. And they went out and consulted and said, we're going to scrap these 2 routes. So Route 17 and Route 28 are no longer going to be in existence, really, and we're going to create 2 new routes, which is from Littleton out to the airport, called Port to Port, and essentially that's half of Route 28 and half of Route 17. And then the other one is northward to Huntsbury, which again, northward to Huntsbury, it's taking those 2 routes and swapping them out. So from Huntsbury to the city, it'll be Route 28, and then it'll pick up, sorry, the other way around, Route 17, and then it'll pick up. Yeah. So that's what's happening. And ECAN went to their community board and endorsed that change, and it should be implemented next year, early to mid next year. So with that, they're also looking at a frequency uplift. So having reliability of service and having more frequent buses makes it more attractive for people to catch the bus. So they're going to be increasing the frequencies to 15 minutes, which means there'll be a lot more buses going down Wairaki Road, which is great. And this project really supports the infrastructure that's needed to carry a high frequency core route. So there's similar reports going to all the community boards that are affected by this, and recommendations to lift the infrastructure to the standards so that buses can pull in and out easily, and that all the bus stops are compliant with our standards. So we went out and consulted on the 22nd of March, and that ran till the 12th of April this year. And we sent out flyers to over 1,000 affected properties along the routes. We also put little A5 corflute signs on all the bus stop poles to inform the bus passengers of the changes. And we sent out some emails to a database of people that said that they were particularly interested in the infrastructure upgrades. And we got that database of people because we jumped on ECAN's consultation and said, Council's going to be doing some infrastructure upgrades if you're interested in getting involved with it, and if you've got any initial feedback. So we were able to get that. And that was really great because normally we just consult with the property owners, but we got a much wider audience. And so we got some really good responses. The sentiment of the consultation was very positive. people welcomed the tactile pavers and the increase in the uplift in bus shelters and the safety improvements. We're also proposing some pedestrian refuges, but that's in some other areas. So we did receive some feedback on specific bus stops, which I've highlighted in this report. So the first one was at 272 Wairaki Road, and that's near Greers Road. That's got quite a lot of bus passengers using that road, and it's a transfer stop for the Orbiter. So there was someone that wanted to keep the bus stop there because the awnings provide the shelter, and we recently installed a seat there as well. And then one resident that wanted to shift it away from that intersection. But we decided to keep it there because it's a transfer stop and the shelter, the awnings that provide the shelter. And there is quite an odd bike rack there that's designed for bikes to be on the roadside, which is quite an unsafe environment for a bus to pull out, and it's likely to hit those bikes. So we'll be removing that and reviewing the bike parking in that area. The next bus stop is just down the road, and it's quite closely spaced to the bus stop just south of Greers. So we're proposing to move that further to the driveway. It does save parking because we don't need that 5 metres of lead out space because it's covered by that driveway, and it will make the sight lines of leaving that driveway a bit better most of the time, but there are occasions where the bus will be pulling up and picking up and dropping off passengers where sight lines will be impeded. But we assessed that, and we said that it's only a very temporary blockage of sight lines. The bus will only be picking up and dropping off passengers there. It will not be staying there for any length of time. So there are certain bus stops that we have to take special consideration to because they're timing points, which means if a bus arrives early, it dwells there.
This isn't.
This is not one of them, no. So the other bus stops are just line marked to council standards. This is really important because if a car's parked too close to that bus stop, the bus cannot get in and out easily. It cannot get close and parallel to the curb, and it ends up blocking that site, those bike lanes, which means that the cyclists are forced into that live traffic. And with an increase in the frequency, it's really important to make sure that we get that line marking right. We are proposing some seats as well in your area, and that's just to provide a comfortable seating space. We have received a number of requests to install more shelters. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and that we will be looking at the bus passenger numbers and reviewing our policies. Because at the moment, we're just installing the shelters when there's 20 or more people hopping on that bus each day. And so after this frequency uplift, we will be looking at how that passenger numbers increase, and also in conjunction reviewing our criteria for those shelters, because it was quite evident that the community really want more shelters, but there's a few things in play with our budgets and some long-term planning there. So I think that about wraps it up. Are there any questions?
Yes, we'll go Mike and then Ellie.
Thank you. Just a quick one. Are any of the bus stops timing?
Not along this section, no.
Ellie? Melanie?
I had a question about a build out. I've taken a screenshot of it. Is it not on that one there? No, it's the one that's got existing seat to be replaced. Proposed stop and restriction. So on one of the slides, there is a build out on our side of the road. That might be it there actually. I'm sure.
The next one down had existing seat to be.
It's the school one.
Yeah, no, it's
I
not.
think it's the last one, is it, the 15 Crescent?
Okay, so
No, it's not that one. Sorry.
There's one more, I think, Mark. Keep going down.
Yeah, that's it there. Yeah, so what I wondered was, can you just explain, there's this here. What happens with the bus and why is that there?
so that build out there, I'd say that it was there to reduce the crossing distance for the pedestrians using that refuge island.
And so what happens to the bus when that build out's there? Where does the bus go?
So the bus will pull into that bus stop there with the circle around it, and it will pull out and join the flow of traffic there. And that road width is designed to allow buses and heavy vehicles to pass.
So the priority of the bus lane was less of a priority than the passengers, the pedestrians crossing the road. I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, no, that's all right. So there isn't a bus lane along Wairaki Road. The buses are mixing with traffic. And that's really because to have a bus lane, we need an extra lane of traffic. So it would be a much larger project. And it would require significant curb cutbacks and parking lots. But we do have a program of implementing bus priority lanes across.
That's right. I just couldn't understand why the build out was there. It's the bus has got to sit there and then be held up because there's a bit of concrete sitting in front of it. But that's fine. You've answered my question. Thank you.
Any question?
Yes, the taking away of the bike stands.
Yes.
That's going to be sorted before they take it. So there will be some replaced before those are taken away.
So I will look at that during the detailed design and see where I can fit a replacement bike hoop.
Before they're taken away.
Yes, yes.
And my other question was about the accessibility of the buses.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been consultation with Accessible Christchurch or
Yes, we've got a disability reference group at ECAN that I attend. It's quarterly meetings, and I've informed them of this project. I also had a meeting with blind and low vision representatives to really get those tactile placement right and that criteria of when we put tactiles.
Excellent, thank you.
Pauline and Simon.
Yeah, thanks. One was on the cycle stands as well, and just wondering, is there a specific cycle stand project area in council? Because you wouldn't normally do the cycle stand, would you?
Well, in the Christchurch Business Future Case, it did highlight the need to install bike infrastructure next to bus stops,
right,
to facilitate that mode shift and that last mile. So that's something that I'm looking at in conjunction with increasing bus passenger numbers.
Yeah, I think we did have a little fund there, didn't we? Was that for Central City?
No, we extended it to the whole of the city.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the other thing, because it came up with the gondola request.
Yes.
So you will pass that request, the gondola one, on to someone else, or I mean, what happens with that comment?
Yeah. So we've got a problem with the Littleton residents that really want to cycle into town and they can't get past the tunnel. They've noted that they like putting their bikes on the front of the bus, but they're turned off by the fact that that capacity could be full when they rock up and then they're left in the lurch.
You only get two or three.
Yeah, so that's the pain point that I'm trying to investigate.
Okay, that's all I want to know, that it's staying live.
Yes.
And then that's great. The other question I had was do all these bus stops have shelters and seats? I wasn't clear in the report.
No, they don't. So we're putting in seats when there's 5 or more bus passengers a day, and shelters when there's 20.
And I'm glad you're reviewing the criteria, because it's quite odd that actually, in my view, it's the stops that have the least frequent buses that probably deserve the seats and the shelters, because you could be waiting there a lot longer. And also, we need the quick wins for shelters. I'd love to see shelters on all bus stops, because they actually point out where the stops are quite clearly. But often we bump into resource consent issues. So it's really like taking the easy wins. But it's interesting what you said about the budget, because I think in the LTP I asked that question, if we could have an increased budget for the shelters. And the answer was, well, we're at kind of capacity for delivery, so we don't require that at the moment. So you're signalling that yes, in the future we probably will. Is that right?
Well, we are looking at the long-term plan and how we meet this, the objectives and the recommendations as set out in this Greater Christchurch plan. And it does say that we need more shelters, more RTI systems,
well, that's a really good heads up.
More infrastructure. So we're taking that and putting in a plan on how we get that.
And a bit in the budget. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just add a wee bit to that? Because that is interesting that you're bringing up the issue with the shelters being often the gaining the resource consent.
If there's objections.
So it's not about the placement or no, it's just that
if it's outside someone's house and they don't.
Okay. And is that fairly easy to get around?
It's a process. As far as I know, it's a process. They normally, it's a process.
Yeah.
Just depends on case by case.
Yeah. Because it would be interesting, like, again, instead of wasting money backtracking, that if we are wanting to get shelters at all our bus stops, that, when we're looking at this, that we actually do the process at the same time, even if we don't do it for a few years, so that we're not having to then go and find another space for another bus stop in the future.
Yeah, it's sensible.
Yeah. Okay.
Simon.
Yeah, thank you. So my understanding is the current 17 and 28 routes are essentially getting mashed up and coming back out as the Port and northward to Huntsbury.
Yes.
Is there a reason the infrastructure for the current Route 28 through our board area, why that hasn't been reviewed simultaneously along with the 17?
So we did have conversations with ECAN and their engagement. They were ready to go out before us, and we didn't want to hold up their consultation. This requires a lot of site visits and consultation drawings, and I believe it might have overwhelmed or overshadowed the two very specific different questions. So in their consultation, we had a little section to say that council will be doing an infrastructure route review, and if they've got any initial feedback, we can take that on board, and if they'd like to keep informed. So we're trying really hard to keep that messaging and to communicate to the community that ECAN is operational and we are infrastructure, but we work closely together.
Sure, but in particular, I see there's a note in the report or in the comments, the Q&A, sort of at the end of that report, that there will be an infrastructure review of the northward to Huntsbury route.
Yes.
Is that next year?
Yes.
So that is still in the pipeline.
Yes, we've got a program now where ECAN will go out and do their route reviews, and then we will go and do their infrastructure. And quite often ECAN do route changes. So for example, the route 17 used to terminate at Sheffield Crescent. It's now going to continue out to the airport. So it's important that they endorse that route change, and then I can do all the infrastructure components to support that.
Sure. Thank you.
One quick question I have for Sam.
Yes.
The objections that you received, can you go back to them and explain like individually, because there was an objection about the bus stop being moved close to that school driveway, and your reasoning makes perfect sense. Does that submitter get to hear that reason?
Yes, so we've recently put in a new process that after decisions made on here, we'll send out an email, say, look, the decision's been made, and if any other major things coming out of this, we'll go back to them and say, look, the community board changed this, they endorsed this. But yeah, with the individual one, especially with that one, I'll probably go back and say that to them, yeah, and give them the same reason that's in the report.
Yes.
Just in case they don't jump into the report and read it.
Yeah, we can expect people to delve into.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. So no more questions?
Yeah, sorry.
Ellen.
I was really disappointed to see the number of people that engaged. I mean, when you did so much work and trying to connect and and so forth, and I think you said 1,000 people you would have essentially connected with here. So when you've got figures like 53, and in our ward as well, they were pretty low. Have you thought about, and is it your job to, it may not be, but are there other ways that we can do this so that there is essentially a more effective engagement, and that what we're doing is reflective of basically what the wider community wants or needs?
One of the challenging things that we have with most consultations is residents will look at a plan and say, oh, that looks really good. And that's about it. You tend to hear from people that would like something changed within that plan. So there's just a challenging thing for us to get those people to submit to say, no, we really like your plan. We endorse your plan. That's great. So it's just one of those. Are you
restricted by budget at all with consultation?
Depends how much the project budget is.
Right. So the cycleways, when we did a lot of, public meetings and things, that was reflective of the value of the project.
Yeah, we also do a significant and engagement part of our engagement plans. So if it comes out with low significance, we'll just go out and make sure that we've done everything that we can. But then if it's higher, we'll go out and do all the door knocking and go and see all the businesses. But as you can see, it was quite a long route with over 1,000 properties. We decided not to deliver to the whole route because that was quite a lot, and we decided to just engage with the people directly affected by all the changes of the bus stops.
Okay. Are you disappointed by the low level of engagement?
For this, I was hoping to hear a bit more from the actual bus passengers about the bus stops. We got some really, really good comments out of it. But like I said, it's sometimes it's not the quantity, it's the quality of the submissions, what those people have actually said within their submissions as well, that will give us what we need to take the project forward.
Numbers are important though too, aren't they? I mean,
sometimes, yeah. You don't really want to go into a consultation thinking that it's a vote.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Right, no more questions. Do we have a mover, Mike, and a seconder, Simon? Any debate? Pauline?
Yeah, no, just quickly, I think it's really great that we're stepping up with this infrastructure improvement program, and the work that you're doing is fantastic. It's excellent to see the council and ECAN working together so well to actually improve our public transport provision to attract people to actually use it, and particularly good in this is that it's going to allow an increased frequency so that people can go to a bus stop and know there's going to be a bus coming along within 15 minutes. So probably law of average is about 7, but you only have to wait. So I'm really excited to see this starting to happen in our city, because it is rather a chicken and an egg. And until we've got the buses running frequently and reliably and good infrastructure, we are failing to attract people to actually use it, because it has to be efficient and quick and compete with the car. So good work, great report, and keep it coming.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No. Right, we'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
That was carried. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
our presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, as I said earlier, the staff for item 11 are not available until about 10:30, so we're going to skip that one. And we'll go to item 12, summer with your neighbours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the cakes.
Are we going to get a good one, Fred? Good summer?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Excellent.
Perfect. It started yesterday and I'm exhausted.
Just having a rest day.
That's right.
Getting over the sunburn.
I'll take the report as read and just add that 2 late applications came in and I think they've been uplifted to the hub. I have hard copies here if you like them. And the last 2, the late applications are from people who historically had the events and were really, really keen that they've included. They were both away overseas when the applications opened.
Any questions?
No. That's good.
I'm happy to move this one.
I'll second it.
Ali seconded it. Got that motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your work on that, Trev.
It's great to see.
And then we have item 13, Youth Development Fund provision for the transitional period. Welcome, Helen.
Hello. I'll take the report as read. Has anyone got any questions?
No. Pretty straightforward, I think. Pauline's moved it. Ali has seconded it. Got that motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
That's carried. Thank you, Helen.
Right.
And then, oh, you're the next one.
Yeah,
So
I'm the
Helen,
next one.
Discretionary response fund applications from the American Football, Canterbury and Avon Sequence Dancers.
Yes. Again, I'll take the report as read. And if anyone has any questions?
Mike.
So I'm just trying to get to the.
Yeah, I know.
This is the second one, I think, was the one with the split application. Was it across 3 boards or was it the first one?
Both of them are split.
Oh, sorry, the first one, actually, the American.
That's off across 3 wards.
Obviously, there's quite a gap between our community board area and the Riccarton and coastal, but I'm just trying to work out why, like Fenton and Waimari, here was not, and there's.
It's with all applications, we ask them who their members are. We go through the members and then the application reflects that. So, and we can do that with clubs, whereas it's more difficult if it isn't a club, you know, it's an organisation based somewhere because they usually attract the local community. But with American football, it's quite specialised.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was the same with the other one, actually.
Yeah.
So it had the sprayed in cashmere, which was just bizarre. It was actually that one I was talking about. I thought that's a big gap between wards.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where they come from. Originally, they were based at Riccarton, which was quite central. And so that's where their members.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Just most of the ones we've had split ones, you kind of see a geographical connection between them. The only thing I noticed on that was obviously we're 25% and sprayed in cashmere is 31. And sprayed in cashmere staff recommendation is only 200 compared to ours. Isn't the reason why?
Yeah, they've got no money.
Okay, that's fair enough.
They've got no money.
Pauline?
Yeah, thank you. Just a question about the American football. So how did the gear get damaged?
They got stolen.
Got stolen. Oh, so one part says damaged. So
because the police recovered it, which was great.
Okay, so
but it was too badly damaged to repair it. Yeah,
so how come do they have?
They didn't have insurance. They have now got insurance.
My question.
Yeah, so they didn't have insurance because when they looked at insuring it, first of all, the subs that they charged people wasn't going to cover the insurance. So now they've gone to the national body, and the national body are going to put it under their insurance, which is fantastic.
So is it worth you looking at other groups like that to see if they are doing the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pass it on.
Yes. Yeah. Because you don't want that. No.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Mover, Pauline, seconder, Emma, put that motion, all those in favour?
Thank you.
That takes us to item 15, elected members information exchange.
Oh, yep.
Pauline, you have something?
Look, it's just the week from.
Remember.
Just the follow. I know, but actually remember. The toddlers playground, just to follow up on the three things, the toddlers playground gates at St Albans Park. And I'm just wanting to know if the Slater Street response has been fed back to the resident and any progress on the plants at Laguna Gardens. So basically just an update on progress on those things that we asked for at the last meeting. Is there anything that happened?
Yeah, so Slater Street, he's corresponded with the residents there.
Yep.
He's come back just asking, come back asking about when the rest of the street's going to be renewed. So I've gone back to start to, I mean, that's, I presume that the answer is going to be that that's not scheduled because we've got the craft work, which is more coming up, but we'll check what sort of answer I can give on that front.
Yeah.
I can probably also update that we included that in the correspondence to the police. To note the issues that he's raised around burnouts.
Oh, good idea.
On Slater Street.
Yeah.
But you know, I haven't had that, which is going to, the election's gone through, but it's going to start a chance, just a couple of weeks since our last meeting to get on top of that, and then I'll follow that up. And the St Albans.
The gates at the toddlers park.
Yes, I heard that from team leader over there that is being looked at. Rangers report back hinges and latches on the new gates, so Chief Lindsay has instructed City Care to return to the site and change the hinges and latches with a more appropriate option and extend the intensified use experienced at St Albans Park.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Anyone else have anything, Emma?
I've just had a resident complain in regards to the site at Westminster Street that we've been discussing over the last few meetings, and the potholes in the car parking area there. That so beside where the two buildings have just been taken down, there's a car park, and the potholes is anything going to be done about those potholes? So again, it just brings up that whole area. And Mark, thanks very much for your response to that. But it's, the area is really run down, and to see that there's funding allocated for 32 to 35, it would be great if, as a board, we could try and move that forward and get something, get something done in the whole area before that stage, and at the very least get those potholes fixed in the car parks, because it is fairly bad. Or even looking at that little area, if the car parking is going to be opened up where the existing buildings are, that perhaps that car parking area that is full of potholes could actually be fenced with the area with the housing as a bigger grassed area in front. I don't know, but I just think the whole area needs to have a wee look at very quickly and tidied up, because it's fairly messy.
Well, that's something a new board can look at in the new term, so it's a big priority.
Yeah. And just another thing, I've just had a request from a resident on Innes Road to find out about what are they able to do when their next door neighbour builds their property up, which causes flooding on their property, which you can see all over the place when there's new builds going in. So do we know what a resident can do if that is happening?
Well, it shouldn't do that, because it should be part of the consent. And this all came out from what they call Variation 48 after the September earthquake, when the new builds had to be higher up.
So it's not actually it's not a new build. So the house next door hasn't been rebuilt. They've just built up their land, which now floods the.
It's a legislative issue, isn't it? You could just ask for someone to do some work on it.
Have they emailed council about it?
No, they just asked.
Well, that's a good starting point to email info council.
Okay.
This is
So to be able to do that to your land, would you be requiring a resource consent?
Depends how much soil you're removing and putting back. That's where the trigger is. So,
How much runoff,
Yeah.
where it's going and how you dealing with it.
Yeah, ask them to get in touch with customer service.
Okay, thank you.
I was a bit disappointed we haven't seen the report going back to council.
It will be released this afternoon. And what the plan is, well, it gets released this afternoon, we can all have a read of it over the weekend.
Yep.
Then if we want to come up with a board position for me to present to council on Thursday, we can get together maybe on Zoom or something early next week and have a discussion.
So we can't comment on input to suggest changes to that report.
No, because Mark has been following it up because it's a staff report. It's not a community board report to council. But I believe they are including with the report these are adding to them.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good. It's just that we also got a memo at the beginning of this year that had factually incorrect information. So it would have been.
And that was included in the letter, which is going to be attached.
Okay, all right.
So we'll have a read of it, and if it needs to be, we can have a discussion early next week.
Yeah.
About what we want to present.
Yeah. Okay.
That's on Thursday.
Yeah. All right. Yep. No, that's fine. Is there any way I could present that with you, or can I sit with you for that?
not in the years.
No.
Well, we're just going to find out about whether we do a deputation or I do as part of the board presentation.
Oh, I see, because it's all presentation week, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably easier just to do as part of the.
But we'll find out and let you know.
I just thought if there were questions related to the specific issues that particularly Tim's have been dealing with them, but yeah, okay, that's fine.
But no, we'll let you know.
All right, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge council's IT staff for being responsive to my difficulties with my council email this week. But also, yeah, we need access to a council email, obviously, to transact council business, but also to be available to the community. And it's my impression that the IT settings on our email have been screwed down so tight now. It's becoming almost non-functional, certainly for me. I think that's just a little bit disappointing because we need to be available to the community through all the ways that they should be able to contact us. And I've got a call booked with the IT staff this afternoon to look at some specific issues I've got. I plan on giving that feedback as well, but I do just want to put that out there in the public domain. I think we're going a little bit far on the secure side and not enough on the usability side to make us accessible as elected members.
Yeah, totally agree. Can I just add to that? Sorry, because I'd like a formal response from the board because I totally agree with you, Simon. I think it's been one of the issues that I've particularly been frustrated with over the last 9 years. And so to find that we are now, and a number of us have been locked out of our accounts, it's not good enough to get an email saying, hey guys, we're doing this on Thursday. Okay, so I think we need to send a letter from the board to the office of the CE suggesting that there needs to be a far better level of communication with boards and elected members when there are changes flagged. An email doesn't cut it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I also had difficulties yesterday. I was on the phone to the IT people too.
Yeah. Well, you know the problems. Do you want to?
Yeah, well, we can come up with something. Is that something I'm doing informal?
Did you? Well, to cover that in the informal.
Feedback. And I think formal response from the board as well as you've said.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I'm still locked out and I don't know.
Input from members.
Yeah, thanks.
Right, the plan now is we have to adjourn the meeting because we don't have the staff available for that other item for another 20 minutes or so. So we're going to adjourn the meeting and we'll reconvene once they are available. So I'll just stop the recording.